Hello, my name is Carlos Urban, and today I'm going to talk to you primarily about the Nikon 28 to 300 zoom lens that is 3.5 to 5.6 millimeter. Before I show you some of the comparisons that I did, I wanted to show you that a lot of the pictures that I'm taking now, I'm basically using this lens. So, for example, for sports, this is one of my favorite pictures, and even though it's not a fast lens, if you don't have media credentials, it's very hard that they let you in with they let you in with a bigger lens. So I took this one with a 28 to 300, and now that's basically the lens that I take for all sports. I mean, I use my D7000, which is a crop sensor, and it allows me to it allows me the 300 millimeters is actually 450 millimeters. So for that, I this was with a 70 to 200. I see. But I can tell you that right now what I'm using is the 28 to 300 for everything. One of the things that I usually also use the 28 to 300 is also for street photography. Street photography, if you're walking and you don't want to lose any of your shots, the advantage of the 28 to 300 is that you can get very, very close, right? And at 300 millimeters, and at the same time, you can go as wide as 28 millimeters when you are very close to your subject. So the other thing is when you go on a trip, and you just don't have now space to carry out a lot of your lenses and bag and all that, they're getting more and more restrictive with lenses and the gear and all that. So all of these pictures, this was my New York trip, and all of these pictures were taken with the 20 to 300. Now, interestingly, when I did this trip, I didn't even have a tripod. I put this on a table, but I just wanted to show you how nice these pictures are. This is an HDR. All of these were taken with a 20 to 300. Here, this was actually the focal length was 300, and I used my D800 for this trip. But if I would have, is the D7000, it would have been 450 millimeters. So I have a lot of fun with this lens because I can just take it anywhere with me, and as you will see now, it's a very sharp lens. Okay, so let's now look at some of the pictures I just took earlier today. And basically so let me deselect here all these pictures first, so I can show you the comparisons that I did. The first comparison that I'm gonna do is at 70 millimeters. So this is, the first one is taken with my, you can see here it was taken with the 70 to 200 at f8 ISO 400. The second one was taken 70 millimeters, same thing, f8 400. And this one, so I took two at 70 millimeters. I don't remember why I took two of them, but so let's compare these two first and see what we find. Okay. So again, as I told you before, so let's first, without zooming too much, look at the overall sharpness. So we have, the building looks very similar. The exposure is slightly different. I had it in aperture priority. So now let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's go to 1:1. Okay, and you can see here, I mean, I'm looking at things that require a lot of detail, like for example the stairs here, This is at 70 millimeters, and I don't know. I don't see any difference. I mean, it looks exactly the same to me. The boats. Okay, so this is at 70 millimeters. So now let's try other focal lengths. So the next focal length is at sorry. Oh, here it is, at 105. Now for the 105, I did something interesting that I'll show you in a moment. But first, let's compare versus the 70 to 200. So let's compare these two again. Okay, let's give it a minute to load. In the meantime, let's first. Okay, so now both are loaded. The exposure is a little different. I think that's why I took another picture, because the exposure is so different that it's hard to compare. Let me just see. So if we go 1:1, one second, this one is loading. I was gonna say, my God, it looks really blurry. What happened here? And apologize, sometimes Lightroom, takes a while to load the pictures. Okay, so here we go. This is 1:1. I think in this particular case it looks sharper with the 70 to 200. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think the 70 to 200 looks better in this particular case. So this is at focal length 105. Okay, so let me deselect everything. So this is, again, the 70 to 200, and this one I believe is a 28 to 300. Let me see now. I took them both. This is 1:1. Okay, this is more similar exposure. This is 1:1, is 100% magnification, and I guess I mean, it's hard to tell. It really is. I'm not gonna say one is more than the other, but again, the point is that the 28 to 300 is a great lens. I mean, look how sharp it is. This is very nice. Yeah, I think the reason why I took this picture again is because the exposure was very different. So here you can see the buildings. Everything looks very, very sharp. I mean, maybe slightly sharper here, but again, hard to tell. And then I did something interesting. What I did was I compare the 28 to 300. Okay, let me see. This is yeah, to the 105. So let me just make sure that this one and this one. So let me see, this is 210 millimeter. Oh no, this is 200 millimeters. Oh, sorry. So this is 105, and this is okay. Here we go. So these two is the ones that I want to compare. So here we have the 28 to 300 on the left and the 105 prime lens on the right, which, by the way, I believe is my sharper lens. And you can see, look how sharp this is. This is the 28 to 300. This is the 105. It's the focus lens is 112 versus 105. I was doing this very quickly, so it's not 105 exactly, but you can see that, I mean, it's a little bit differently exposed, but you can see the level of detail in the 28-300 is really, really good. And again, comparing to the 105, which is a prime lens, so that tells you, I mean, a 20-300 zoom has many advantages. So if you take into account that not only do you have all the advantages of having a zoom lens from 20-300, but also you have you have a very sharp lens. So let's look at 200 millimeters. This is the the focal. Here we're gonna zoom in a little bit less because we are already at 200 millimeters. So again, here on the left is the 70-200, on the right the 28-300, and again it looks very similar. I mean, I'll let you decide which one looks sharper. I think if I didn't tell you which one was which, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Now, don't get me wrong, I mean, I own both lenses, and if I'm gonna do sports, or if I'm gonna do action, if I'm gonna do birds in flight, or if I'm gonna do low light, 2.8 obviously is a huge advantage. You can be at 2.8 all the way to 200 millimeters. 28-300, when you're in 200 millimeters, you're already at 5.6, so you lose 2 stops. But for me, the most important thing is that if you need to carry only one lens, the 28-300 lens is really one that you should consider, because it's a very sharp lens. You can get it used for a really good price, new for I think like $900, I believe. So it's a lens that I think you should consider having in your arsenal. And if you're a beginner, that's also a good zoom lens to start out with, because you have a very sharp lens, and you have the 28-300. I believe that there is also an 18-300 DX. So if you have a crop sensor camera, you may want to get that one. It's probably as sharp as this one, but to be honest, I don't know, because I haven't done the comparison. So last but not least, now that I mentioned the birds in flight, again, I'm gonna do a whole review and comparisons of the 70-200 in another video, but now that just to give you an example where it really makes a huge difference, if you're doing birds in flight, it needs to focus very quickly. Now, a lot of the time it's the camera that has to do most of the work, but it helps when you have a really fast lens like the 70-200. So this we're taking with the 70-200. It doesn't show the metadata here, but I remember, and now one thing that is good is because I was taking them these with here it is. So this is very interesting. So 70-200, and I was really at 240 millimeters, because even though my focal length was 160 millimeters, since I was using my D7000, I was at 240 millimeters. So this I consider to be my best bird in flight picture. And again, the purpose of this video was more to talk about the 28-300, so that you can see, if you haven't bought it, that is a really good lens. And I just want to see, just for the heck of it, how much is this lens. So if we go to, I don't know, let's just put Nikon 28-300. Oh look, so here some people did some reviews. So you see, brand new is $946, or you can even get in other places for under $900. So this is the 18-300. It's actually less than $500. I'm not gonna say anything about this lens because I have never used it, but I just wanted to show you that the 20 to 300 you can get relatively, for a lot less, and you can probably find some that are in really good shape used. So if I put here used, let's see what comes out. So you see under $700, used. And again, I think it's a great lens. I hope you enjoyed this video, that you found it useful, and please put in the comments area any questions, or if there was something that you'd like me to do, just let me know. I'm gonna do a full comparison of the 28 to 300 at different focal lengths. We're doing at f8. It may not be a comparison with the 70 to 200. It may be more so that you can see all the different f-stops at all the different focal lengths, and you can see how sharp the lens is when you are like at 3.5. 3.5, or when you're at f4 or 5.6. In that particular video, you're gonna also see how much of a bokeh you can get, because when you're at 300 millimeters, the depth of field is a function of your zoom lens or that you have, and also the aperture. So we'll have a chance to take a look at all of those in my next video on this lens. Thank you.